I want to connect my house off-grid, and one of the pieces of the puzzle is a set of good batteries. Batteries are a big cost of the setup. I got one to test it out because I'm going to need about 8. 8 of them is going to cost a good chunk of money. So in this video I'm going to run this battery through the test. So I want to make sure that it's doing the things that I need it to do. On paper it looks really good, but how is it handling the real world use? I'm going to max it out right now with a heater. This is a 1500 watt heater. Plugged it in. Okay, so this one is running. I'm going to bring the camera closer. And this one is pulling 560 watts. So that's 560 watts out of the battery right now. 56 amps. So it's pulling 56 amps out of the battery right now. I'm going to push the power button to put it into high. Right now we're pulling a lot more volts over here. So the battery is at 10.7 volts. I'm pulling 108, pulling about 1200 watts. And you could feel really warm air coming out of here. So the battery BMS can definitely hold. It's holding at 11 volts at 109 volts, 10 amps. So that's 108 amps out of the battery. So that is pretty good. So we already know that the BMS can handle 100 amps. Specs said 100 amps. I'm happy with that. Now this is made by a company called GRENERPOWER, and this is the website that you could find it at, grenepower.com. The pamphlet looks really good. Maximum continuous discharge current 100 amps. Recommended charge current 20 amps. Maximum charge current 100 amps. Recommended charge voltage 14.6. Now what all this means? So here's the math. Why do I need 8 of them? So this battery is 12.8 volts at 100 amp hours. So each one can store about 1200 watts because it's volts multiplied by amp. In this video, I'm going to test to make sure that it has 1200 watts because that's very important. That's how you scale up the amount of batteries that you need for the house. What is my consumption? My personal consumption is about 4 kilowatts a day. That's what my house uses. So even though these batteries are okay to be charged and discharged from 100% to 0 and back, I usually get a little bit more batteries than I need, so that way I don't have to run them as hard. So in my case, if I need about 4 kilowatt hours every day, and these ones can handle about 1200 or 1.2 kilowatt hours a day, theoretically I could get away with just getting 4 of them. These are the lithium phosphate ion batteries. These are not the lithium ion batteries that you see catching on fire all the time. These are the lithium phosphate batteries. These are specifically designed to be a lot more durable. So what I like about the GRENERPOWER, it's lithium phosphate and it has a really good BMS built in. The BMS is the battery management system for the cell, and these two work together. So it's important to have a good BMS. We're gonna test it out and see how much we can pull out. And then if the battery can perform as well as it does on the paper, then I'll get more, and then my setup is going to be ready for prime time. Now, first thing I want to say is that even though the manufacturer cautiously said you have to have a specific charger for it, these BMSs are so strong and so powerful, theoretically you could charge them with a normal charger. Theoretically, you could put them through any kind of a charge cycle as long as you don't exceed the wattage that the BMS can handle. So in my case, I'm using this smart automatic charger, and I'm going to see what is the maximum that it can accept. So right now the battery is at 13.5 volts and it's charging, and it's pulling 137 watts. So it's pulling 137 watts. Now this charger can only handle a maximum of 10 amps. Basically this charger is maxing out before the battery maxes out. This one will accept 20 amps to charge based on the specs on the paper, but it can handle up to 100, but is recommended to charge it at 20. What about the discharge? So let's test out the 100 amp continuous discharge. I have an inverter over here. This is a 1500 watt inverter. Let's give it a try. So let's power on a couple of things that we have here in the house. Angle grinder, plugged in. It's about 200 watts, no problem. This sander, 500 watts. So this is a 500 watt sander. Let's see. So this one, it's pulling 50 amps out of it. I'm going to max it out right now with a heater. This is a This is a 1500 watt heater. So right now I'm on high. Right now we're pulling a lot more volts over here. So the battery is at 10.7 volts. I'm pulling 108 amps out of it. So we already know that the BMS can handle 100 amps. Specs said 100 amps. I'm happy with that. Okay, I already know that I can pull 100 amps out of it, but for how long? So I'm gonna charge an electric bike right now. We're gonna plug it in, and then we're gonna plug it in and see if we can charge the electric bike. Now this bike uses 700 watts to charge. This is gonna come on, and there it is. I'm gonna bring the camera a little bit closer. And this one, it's pulling. The battery is at 11.9 volts. We have 110 volts coming out at 5 amps. So this one is pulling about 650 watts out of the battery. 650 watt hours. That's about 65 amps. So 60 to 65 amps coming out of the battery right now through those terminals into the inverter and then into this charge controller for this bicycle. The bike battery, we're starting at 53%. This battery, it's 4 kilowatts. So there are 4 kilowatts in this battery. We're plugged into the GRENEPOWER battery. We're pulling 12. This is the voltage, the battery stabilized, pulling about 700 watt hours out of it. So this should last for about 2 hours, and it should give us this one up to 75% or so. Just by checking on it, I've discovered that initially you have a big voltage drop, but then you have, it stabilizes because it warms up. And then because it warms up, the cells start to warm up, then the voltage is stabilized, but it's not like it's warm to the outside. Like the battery, it's as cold as a table, so that doesn't change at all. But the voltage is stabilized, so when you first take load out of it, the voltages drop a little bit more than you expect, and all of a sudden they just stabilize, and right now it's maintaining an easy 12 volt at pulling 700 watt hours out of it, and then the bike is charging at 65% from 53, so already 10% went in. Quick update, from 53 to 83%, so that's 30%. We got this beep, so that means that we have something that is running a little bit low. 10.4, 10.3, so yeah, we got at least a kilowatt out of it, if not more, because 30% out of a 4 kilowatt battery, that is more than a kilowatt. And then we got a little bit of a beeping. We'll see when it's actually gonna turn off. We're gonna run it all the way down. And I caught it right on time. So this BMS, I'm gonna stop this because it's making too much noise. But this BMS did not turn off. The inverter has a protection system that kicked in before the BMS cut off on that. So that one cuts off under 10 volts. This one cut off like 10.4 or something like that. So that changed everything. And we're looking at this thing. It's basically got 30% into the battery. So yeah, 30% into the battery. So that is 1.2 kilowatts. So I approve this. I approve this purchase. This GRENEPOWER battery is awesome. Okay, and this is the final test. So the GRENEPOWER battery is getting charged to maximum capacity. It's pulling 160 watts out of the charger right now. So it's running about 12 amps of charging. And then I've zeroed it out and see how much energy is gonna go in. Now, obviously there will be some losses into the charger, including the fan. That is just wasted energy that this one is reading. But it will take about 10 hours at this rate, and we'll see how much power is gonna go in. I'm expecting about 1.5 kilowatts. Quick update, a lot of hours have passed. So we're looking at 13 hours since it's running. 1.62 kilowatts went into this GRENEPOWER battery, and it's still pushing 120 watt hours in. So obviously there's some losses into this fan and heat that this smart charger is pushing in, but there is a lot of power that goes back in because we took a lot of power out of it. I'm gonna let it run until tomorrow morning, but this is definitely as advertised. If it takes so much power without getting any hot, that power has to be stored, and it's stored somewhere in there. So pretty awesome battery.